DNVR Avalanche Podcast, live from Circa in Las Vegas, hanging out with the best view of Stadium Swim that you can find. We got all sorts of live sports going on behind us. Please don't block us, YouTube. It's a great view, though, isn't it? I mean, the TV back there is actually ridiculous. I'm going to go spend the rest of the night hanging out, watching that thing if I can. Avs win their third game of the Rookie Faceoff. This one 4-3 over Vegas in overtime. They win all three of their games at this event, and that's where I want to start the show today. They go 3-0 at a Rookie Faceoff. Is this does this matter to the organization internally? Are they patting themselves on the back? Hey, we went 3-0, or do they not care about the record of this thing at all?
I think it matters for players to some extent, as well as Aaron Schneekloth in something of a coaching debut to get those wins over this weekend, overseeing this group, especially looking at the depleted lineup that they had to put on the ice tonight, this afternoon. He had to make some difficult decisions and get a little creative, having Brian Yoon play as a forward, and it's interesting then for them to even come out with the win, because we talk about culture a lot on the show, and for players that are just invites at this tournament, obviously there's a lot on the line because players are trying to impress, generally speaking, but being able to pull out the win and get opposite of a good Vegas team just felt like the story of the showcase, that they were playing opposite of teams that had really deep prospect pools, and no matter who they put on the ice, they found a way to win, and I think that's just culturally going to be significant for what it ends up being the Eagles group going forward, and then also even Utah players that are going to stay in the depth of the organization as well.
Great point about Schneekloth, especially as a guy who's stepping up to that AHL level. A lot of these guys are going to be playing for him this year.
Greg Cronin never went 3-0.
Not in this tournament, even.
Just saying.
It matters. It matters if you're 3-0, and if you're 0-3, it doesn't matter.
No,
right?
That's so funny.
It's not. No, but you're right. I mean, those points are valid, and guys that get on the ice, they're competitors. You put on a jersey, it's a piece of ice, and all it is, it's an opportunity to show what you can do. And hockey players usually are competitors. They'll compete in the hallway at the hotel to see who's the first one back to the room. You know, I mean, all that stuff. So, of course, they're going to compete on the ice. So, I think it was nice to see some guys pass the test. Some guys, not so much. But overall, like you said, for Schneekloth, for everybody, it's a great time for the organization to see all their kids all together and set the tone for the culture for the rest of the week.
Well, the kid that showed what he can do in today's game has to be Oskar Olausson, right? Finally gets on the board, has a nice goal, has a great setup for the game-tying goal as well. What are we looking at for Olausson across the course of this weekend? Is this hey, he finished strong, take that step and head into training camp on a positive note, or is it a little bit of a disappointment that he didn't show more across the entire event?
I think this is best reflected in the fact that Matt Steinberg and Sam Malinsky did not play in this game.
Yeah.
I think they showed what they needed to in the showcase and sort of earned the night off, whereas Oskar did play. He continued to wear a letter for the entirety of the tournament, so they're looking to him for leadership, giving him a lot of responsibility. So it's not a punishment, but it is a message that's being sent that he plays in this final game. And so it's not necessarily the best position for him to be in, and it was extremely important then for him to show well in this final game.
For me, 1 out of 3. He has one good game out of 3.
Sure.
It's pretty much his pro career to this point.
Yeah.
So, he had a good day today. I don't want to come down really hard on him or anything like that. But after 2 pretty unspectacular and disappointing efforts, he had a really strong one today. It was good to see. I mean, it was a good reminder of why
he's still good.
Yeah. Why there should be some excitement there. The size, the skill, all the things that you really like about him are there. And when he's on, boy, is he on. I mean, it was an impressive day for him. He was aggressive and scores a goal and makes a great play on for a primary assist. So I no bones for me. I mean, it's looking at the entire weekend. I'm left wanting. Looking at today, there you go. That's what you're after.
Yeah, I've never really seen him play, so that was my first weekend, so to speak, right? 3 games in a row to see and assess what did they see in him, right? So you saw it today. You saw, I guess, the puck on the flank there, and he puts it home. He's got a great NHL shot. He makes that, like Rudo said, outstanding play for the game-tying goal. Sets up Fairbrother in the overtime, like we talked about earlier. I don't know, Rantanen and McKinnon, they put that in there. You know what I mean? They put that in the empty net. I mean, that's an NHL play. So I saw today what Wade and the crew saw a couple years ago when they drafted him. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a combination of skills and size and but what I'm looking for, what I'm going to look for next week is, Megan and I were talking about that in the first period. Like, I hate that expression, like playing away from the puck. You know, like no, I get that. You can't teach talent, but you can teach that. So I'd like for him to show that those plays away from the puck are important. And I know that Cronin spent a lot of time last year and the staff down there, right, on working on little things of the game where you don't have the puck, where he makes things easier for you and he makes the game easier for you, for your teammates. And, you know, I saw a couple things today that I'm like, oof, you know, like this, I get it now, you know, what they're talking about. But on the flip side, like I said, you can't teach talent. And you saw him tonight with the biscuit. He makes plays. Yeah, it was a great effort. And, you know, whether it was, you know, his third game in 4 nights, whatever it was, and, you know, would have maybe liked the day off. He didn't sulk. He responded to the challenge, and that's what we talked about the last few days. It's about answering the bell, and it's about passing some tests. So today, passed the test.
With Oskar, it's never been so much an issue for me with how he creates. It's how consistently he does. Because you see when he does take that shot, it is an impressive one, and it does reward him eventually, but he doesn't necessarily utilize his shot every game. And he doesn't necessarily distribute the puck as efficiently as he did tonight to lead to some good scoring opportunities. And then the other thing is the play away from the puck. And this is where we talk about how he needs to hunt for pucks and be more engaged in that way. It's a habit, and a habit means that it has to happen consistently. And even in a 3-day showcase, we weren't necessarily seeing that completely in games 1 and 2. We'll see the effort at times, like we talked about how game 1 was physical for Oskar Olausson, but there were still ways in which he wasn't using that the most effectively. I think that's just the little bit of concern that's there, but the things that he does well, when he does do them, he has games like today.
Yep. And look, the reality is he probably ends up in the AHL at very least to start the season, if not the whole year, where he will have that season to start doing these things more consistently, to work on them and prove that he can be an NHLer every day instead of 1 out of 3 days.
Gonna have to develop an edge.
Yep, you got to find something, but that's part of the job of becoming an NHLer, right?
The way that he plays right now is not going to fly in a bottom 6, so he's going to have to develop a little bit of an edge if he's going to be able to really fit into one of those roles.
This was a note from the development camp day, like right before they came over to Vegas, that he got a new trainer this summer and had some of the best physicals that he had coming out of this summer. And I just think it's something to note and keep an eye on then into this season, that I think there is still this component of Oskar that is trying to get better, get stronger. And if he's going to use that physicality throughout the course of a season, he can take a step forward. It's just this next year is going to be really important for him.
Yeah, I agree.
If I could just add, like, he gets hit at the end of the game. The other game, he gets hit tonight. You know, that's what I mean by playing away from the puck, right? And that it's not just your decision how you're hunting pucks, but something happened. You know, you got rid of the puck, and situational awareness. Like, you know you're going to get hit. Therefore, you have to defend yourself. And when I say that is, you know, I'm not about violence. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But you can have your stick's a weapon. You know, you can just Put it right there. And you'll see the guy's not going to – I didn't say to spear him and get a 5-minute major. That's not what I'm saying. But you make a play, you're a little aware, you know you're going to get hit, your stick's like this, he's not coming. The board is right here, your stick is right here, you're like this. No one's coming to hit you because it's the worst feeling in the world. You're going to get that stick in the stomach and you run out of breath. So that's what I mean by not just hunting pucks. Just know that, if you're in better shape, if you're bigger, if you're, got a new trainer and everything, then bring that. You know what I mean? Where you're aware, situational awareness of the game, you know what's going on. Then I think you put all those tools together, then he becomes a better package of a hockey player.
Yep, I think that is a great way to put it. It's still a learning curve for sure for someone like that. And let's be honest, this is 3 days, 4 days, 3 games. You can take things away from an event like this, and you should take things away from this. But if you're making wide sweeping decisions based on this small of a sample size, good luck. I'll put it that way. Except
for signing Jeremy Hanzel.
I mean, to be fair, we were making those decisions after rookie camp, let alone this whole event.
We made those decisions on draft day.
Not wrong. But another good game from him, right? 3 assists on the back end. I think you saw across the course of this tournament, game 1, he's that defensively responsible guy that you want to see be steady for you. By the end of this game 3, he's activating every other shift, jumping in, being part of that offense. How much further does he need to go? What does he need to do in training camp to really get that contract?
Honestly, just what he did here. Because what we saw was, the difference in play in the 3 games. Well, he had different jobs in those 3 games. He was not playing next to Sam Malinsky in game 1. He was in game 2, getting a specific matchup. He's playing on the left side in those games, and he played on the right side today. Played a lot on the right side in the WHL. So, for a left-handed defenseman, that's valuable for him to be able to move like that. And seeing him excel in the different kinds of roles that they put him in. Okay, so now he's running a power play, and now he's on a PK, and having the kind of success that he did should only be encouraging that this is a guy that you can give more and more trust and opportunity to see what he does with it, because he didn't do anything but impress this weekend for my money. It was certainly not perfect. It's not like you look at every decision he made and say, oh, it just aced it, and the same was true for all the other guys, the Brendan Brissons and Josh Stones and Logan Cooley's of the world. They all
one
make
here
mistakes.
did everything perfect, or else they wouldn't be here.
Right. And for Hanzel, I just think that you look at now he's going to go into pro camp. The Avs just need to continue to give him competitive opportunities. Give him a couple of preseason games. Let him see what it looks like with a more AHL level talent of a roster, and see how he handles it. Because if he handles it in the same way that he handled this, then I really don't know how he goes back to the WHL.
Thoughts from this side of the table on Hanzel?
It's interesting the rapid progression of responsibility that they have given to him, even in the course of this weekend. It went from what we saw in game 1, and there's definitely some shaking off the rust, I think, for everybody playing newly together, to getting top pair minutes along Malinsky, to almost everybody's gone from this game. He is heading up the top of that pairing and just going to be utilized in all situations in a game that does go to overtime, an overtime period in which he is on the ice.
Yep.
And obviously also just incredibly important in the game, generally speaking.
Yep.
But in seeing that rapid progression, they're rewarding him handsomely then with responsibility. It makes sense to have him go in preseason games if he follows in this general direction. And so that is, like AJ saying, to keep doing what he's doing as well. I think that he has a good head on his shoulders and responded to the pressures of this weekend very maturely and was very poised under some of it, especially looking at what the lineup looked like tonight. And that is the next step for him then, is to continue doing what he's been doing, because he is likely to receive more responsibility coming out of this.
And you got to remember, games like this, it's a little chaotic, right? It's like taking leftovers in the fridge and making a sandwich out of it, right? A ham with some pork, and I got I'll put it in there, and that's what it's a mishmash, like it's a right. It's just they've never played together, never been together, so it's hard. And then to see the way he reacted, Hanzel was nice, like you said. And AJ said it, like left side, right side. Today, Malinsky's not there, so he gets a little bit more of the quarterback type on the power play, right? So he responds. It's about passing tests, so he does that. And now it's over. But now he feels better going home, get a day off tomorrow, and then, all right, now it's the next step, the next test. As far as exhibition games, of course, like, you want to see guys like that, and then hopefully he does, get in there at some point. The Avs have what, six games, right?
Yeah.
Six preseason games, and sometimes you got a guy like Manson that hasn't played a lot, right? That's going to want to test it out, and sometimes it comes at the expense of a guy like that, where they're like, oh, but Kale's got to get his couple games in to get his thing in, and so you have to look at the numbers. And see where it's at, and then, but I can't see. I agree where he doesn't get a game or two, and then somehow we all talked about it, he's going to end up in Loveland, right? And then you got to remember now you got some time in Loveland and with the Eagles, and there'll be some preseason games there too, and then and then you can make a decision. You don't have to make a decision with him either, like next week and say, oh, he's going back to juniors, or oh, he's staying here with the Eagles. So there is a little bit of time. I think there's a little bit of leeway for him to impress, like we talked about. He impressed a lot the last few days. Now all he can do is just build on that confidence. And again, I'm using that same line, but that's all it is. It's make them make decisions.
How much of events like this are maybe not even fully related to hockey, but hey, they're just going to throw responsibility at these kids and see who handles it the best?
100%. Because hockey, I say that to my younger one, like, hockey's chaotic. It's not like this. You have tendencies, but you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to react to things, and somewhere, somehow, you have to play the left side, the right side, and then some get, oh, I can't. I'm alone. I got to be on the left side. Well, then it narrows your chances of being able to play in a lineup, for different teams. So you got to be able to be versatile and bring tools to your toolbox, and I think that it's important to see how those kids react on a situation like this, and because it's easy to have an average game and not do much, and then after, just didn't know the systems really, and guys were in the wrong spot, because it is hard. And I say it all the time. It's harder to play in a game in the American Hockey League than it is to play a game in the NHL. Because in the NHL, everybody's in the right spot. Everybody's at the right place. You're making the play, and the guys. Where the American League, I call that a little bit of tryout hockey. I don't know if you've ever seen tryout for youth hockey. Everybody's all over the place because you want to impress, and you go out there and there's a little bit of selfishness in your game because I got to show that I got to do it. So it's easier to play a game in the National Hockey League than to play in the American League for those reasons. If you're up to snuff.
If you can keep up.
If you're up to snuff. Yeah, I'm talking about, of course.
I would also say, who is Jeremy Hanzel impressing the most this weekend? Who's coaching that team?
It's Schneekloth right there.
It's the Eagles head coach. It's not Jared Bednar. It's the guy that's trying to make roster decisions in Loveland this year. And I know that the AHL roster, there are more factors than just the head coach. Well, you're trying to get a voice on your side in the room. That's a pretty good place to start, is earning the trust of Aaron Schneekloth first, and then winning everybody else over the rest of the preseason and saying, WHL doesn't have anything for me.
Well, and looking at Schneekloth's decisions with Hanzel, Fairbrother gets in 2 of the 3 games. Yep. Hansel's in all of them, and he's just continuing to get more and more responsibility in each. And that's not to say that any decision has been made, but Schneekloth talked about Hanzel and he liked him. He thought he looked good, and that's why he had the opportunities that he did throughout the course of this showcase. And to Eric's point about why it's important for a player like Hanzel to demonstrate that he does well under pressure, who he's going up against to be in preseason games are players with veteran experience like Jack Ashan, Schooneman, Keaton Middleton, and those are going to be difficult decisions then, because those are players who definitely do well under pressure. They have that pro experience, and they're going to be helpful to get in the lineup in some of these preseason games so that players like Bo Byram don't need to do very much in preseason. And I don't doubt that Josh Manson's going to be getting in games to test how he feels too, based on what CMAC told us. So in knowing these things, it's hard to then look at the 20-year-old who's only had major junior experience leading up to this and say, well, he can hang mentally with the likes of Keaton Middleton. It's definitely important then for Hanzel to show that he can handle that.
Yep.
But you're right with Schneekloth. Like, you gotta, how to put it? It's the fact that he showed leadership. He showed Schneekloth that's on the bench and Connor Walchuk and everyone, right? The whole staff. He's shown there, and he probably feels better about himself. And there's a comfort level with coaches because you're with them every day. So if you look, I'll use JT Compher. There's a comfort level with Bednar, right? Is JT Compher the best player in the world? No, he's not. He's an excellent player, but Bednar trusted him. PK, PP, faceoffs, anybody, right? You know, there's a comfort level, and I think that you have to build that as a player with your coach. And I think that, going back to Hanzel, he did just that this weekend with Schneekloth. You know, so now he's like, okay, all right, this guy can take, let's give him more now, which is now the big boys this week. And then, who knows where it's going to lead. But, it was interesting to see.
More to come, I'm sure, one way or another for Hanzel. On that note, we are brought to you by Breckenridge Distillery. You can go get amazing award-winning whiskey from Breckenridge Distillery. And right now, they're going to run a contest. We will win 2 tickets to the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite for the Broncos-Chargers game on New Year's Eve. It's a pretty fun time, no matter what you're doing. You can post your favorite Broncos photos to Instagram and Facebook using the hashtag BroncosBourbon. When you do that, you'll be entered in. They're going to narrow their favorites down in December and then pick the one that gets voted most by the fans. Use that Broncos Bourbon hashtag. Go over to BreckenridgeDistillery.com/Bourbon of Denver Broncos today to get yourself entered into the contest. And then, when you win, enjoy a bunch of whiskey on a New Year's Eve at a Broncos game. Sounds pretty dope, does it not? They have other options as well, tons of different alcohols. If you're into seltzers, they've got that. They've got a Broncos Blizzard vodka. So if vodka's more your thing, check that out too.
It's not, but it might be.
It might be?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds delicious.
I mean, I'm a vodka guy, so it's about it for me. You can go to BreckenridgeDistillery.com. Their products are available in all 50 states, and you can even get it delivered to your house. Their award-winning spirits. Go check them out today. Also brought to you by Kind Love. So if, alcohol's not your thing, maybe weed is your thing. Kind Love have been doing it in Colorado since the beginning of legality, basically. They've been around since 2010. It's all farm to table. They grow their own stuff, and then they have it right there in their dispensaries. Go get hooked up with Kind Love. You can go to kindlove.com today to order and see their full menu. Of course, you can always go in-store as well and use code DNVR to get 25% off all in-store purchases. So that's a darn good deal right there on their gummies, their flour, their turbo joints, you name it. They've got tons of products that will do the job for you one way or another. Again, if you want their full menu, go to kindlove.com, use the DNVR code, get that 25% off your purchase. You can even get it delivered in some cases. So go check out one of their locations today at Kind Love. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. Is there anything else we want to touch on from the game before we move on? No?
Ivan rules.
Yeah, another solid game for the kid. I do agree. Kale, big Ivan fan,
Kale
confirmed.
Ivan.
Yeah, he's pumped over there.
He needs to change his jersey number to 11.
Ivan, 1-1.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here for it. Okay, we can go forward then. We've got an interview here for you with the Avs head scout, Wade Klippenstein. We talk a good bit about prospects and development with him, so let's roll it, and we'll come back to you after.
Hey guys, Megan Ingley here with Director of Amateur Scouting, Wade Klippenstein. How are you doing, Wade?
Really well. Yeah, it's been a great week here in Vegas.
I'm sure it's been a very telling week too for you.
Yeah, it's a good chance to see some players that I haven't seen in a while and see some other teams' prospects. So it's been exciting that way for sure.
I didn't know if you wanted to head it off because my questions kind of dive right in.
Go for it. Yeah.
Well, the nature of pro scouting is very different than amateur scouting.
Absolutely.
And I was curious in how you measure success in evaluating your wins when you're looking at amateur scouting, because it's so obvious for the pro scouting side of things when an Arturi Lehkonen is a great fit on a Stanley Cup winning team, whereas your side of things, it takes some time for this to be fully realized.
Yeah, it's definitely a different runway, a much longer runway for the amateur scouting. So for us, there's small victories along the way, little benchmarks, but it's a long process. So this is one piece of it. We get a chance to see some of the amateur guys against some of the pros, it's kind of a mixed bag of players you see out here, all different ages and different talent levels. So it's exciting to see some of these guys and how they stack up against the pros.
So I'm curious, Megan's talking about measuring your wins and some of the losses over time, but when you guys when you're not successful on the amateur side, how do you reevaluate and look inward and say, what did we do wrong here, and kind of how do you guys separate, did we draft a guy that wasn't very good, or did we fail to develop him? So how do you guys parse that?
There's a lot of pieces that go into it. Like when we make the selection at 17 years old, what the player does after that, a lot of it's up to the player. And we have some control of it based on where the player's playing. And we drafted 2 players this past year from Russia. So our development team's access to those players is a little bit limited versus a player that's in the CHL that we can get to a little easier. So there's different things that go into it. We see how it turns out. And we go back and revisit it and see, did this player have the path to success we thought they did? The people in their lives, whether it's their strength coach, their goalie coach, skills coach, where they played junior, we're a part of it, but we're partners with a lot of people, so we try and make sure when we draft a player that they do have that path to success, and when they don't, what happened? Was it on the player? Was it on us? Was it our evaluation process that we thought we saw something we didn't? But there again, there's a lot of pieces that go into it.
You talk about a player's path to success. We've got Jeremy Hanzel out here this weekend. He's in kind of a unique spot.
Yeah.
You guys did this a few years ago with Brandon Sajin. It didn't work out the way that you wanted to. What do you see as Jeremy's path to success, and what would be the value of an overage year in the WHL?
Yeah, it's a great question. Interesting file. Obviously, an older player that had a lot of success last year with his team in Seattle, and going back there is some positives there. We have a bit of a different role, maybe a little more offensive opportunity than he had these past couple of years. Is he good enough to play pro where he can get enough out of it? I think that's still to be determined. I think we've seen flashes of some real positive things both in the development camp and here again this week. We'll see him hopefully into training camp and beyond. Those decisions are obviously still pending, but does he go back to Seattle and they move him to a different team where he gets a whole different opportunity? So that's a great file to bring up, because that is a player of interest, definitely. As an older drafted player, what do you do with him, and what's the best for him and for us long term?
When you guys are drafting a player with that kind of profile, do you talk to the pro side of it at all? Do you guys talk about his development or what's next for him? Or do you just say he's next on our list, we like the guy, so we're taking him?
Yeah, our amateur process and our list building is independent of our pro side. We have an Avs identity that we try to make sure we blend that into our list, but because you've seen it in the past that you'll draft a player and our depth chart looks one way, and by the time he's ready to play, we're way different. You look at a couple of years ago, we had all those right shot defensemen on our depth chart. We were one of the richest teams in the National Hockey League with our right shot D, and all 3 of them got traded away. So sure glad we didn't draft based on that. So.
In looking at the prospect pool as a whole, we've kind of all talked about how it's a bit unconventional in ways. In some of the path that has brought all of these players together. And I was curious what some of the challenges and creativity has been in building this group.
Not having picks is a tremendous challenge. Let's state the obvious. 2 years ago, we had the last pick in the 6th round and the last pick in the 7th round. And then this year's a little better, where we ended up with a couple first-round picks, and then you see the player pool, or at least you hear about it because they're not here for various reasons. But having picks is probably the biggest part of it. And the good news is we don't have picks because we're trying to win. It's like we're in that win-now mode, as we unfortunately did 2 years ago. And so I think we've had 16 picks in the last 4 drafts, and a lot of them have been late on Saturday afternoon. So hopefully we can get to a point from the amateur staff where we have more options, more selections.
And at the draft, you talked about how you guys have broadened your overseas scouting, bringing on a new person in Andrei Plekhanov and Alexei Gusarov. I was curious, since you've headed up the department, how it has grown as a whole.
Yeah, we've tried to be more diverse with our coverage. For me, balance is a big thing. And if you're really heavy in one area, that is obviously where you're most likely to have a greater comfort level, which leads to selections. I wanted to make sure our coverage in Finland, Russia, Sweden was similar to our coverage in the Western Hockey League, the Quebec League, and the Ontario League. And we're getting closer to that with some of the names you mentioned and people we've added. We made some changes in how we structure our staff to get that more complete balance in our coverage. So I think you saw some of that in our selections last year. But at the same time, your selections are so based on what other teams take. You might like some guys, you might have 4 CHL guys in a row, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 they're gone.
Yeah.
And that would take the guy from Russia. So a lot of it's out of our hand with 30 other one teams in the mix.
And there's certainly been an uptick of college players, too, that are being picked up, whether that be free agency. And Kevin McDonald shouted out Mike Taglia's director of video being a huge component in helping that. But I was curious, behind the scenes, what other ways that area of scouting has become a lot more important or more closely looked at?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's based on, again, going back to us not having a lot of picks in the amateur draft. We have to be really creative and maybe aggressive in other areas, whether it's college free agents, CHL free agents. There's different paths into our team. The amateur draft's the one that probably gets the most profile. But like I said, some of the college free agents that Mike was able to see in the field and Kevin was able to back up his coverage on, I think it makes a difference. And we're at that point where we absolutely need those streams coming into our team as well.
This will be my last one. One player that you sort of got to put your name alongside newly into the role is Sean Behrens. And because he's obviously not in a showcase like this, I was just curious the reports on how he's developing so far and what we can look forward to.
A lot of optimism around Sean, the player, the person, the student. Obviously in our backyard there, we get a lot of reports. And 2 of his assistant coaches are former teammates of mine, so I have a pretty good handle on the news that comes out of there. Staying healthy for him, I think, is the number one challenge. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, so hopefully this year he has that type of season where he can play 36, 40 games in a row, and I think we'll really see the development take off for Sean.
That's all I have for you, too. Thank you so much,
All right,
Wade.
thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That was Wade Klippenstein, the Avs head scout, the guy that makes a lot of the big decisions when it comes to things like drafting a guy like a Jeremy Hanzel, something like that. Let me start here. Do you guys think the Avs have in the organization currently the guy that is going to break the streak of not having a non-first round, we'll call it, player be successful at the NHL level?
Yes.
One yes. Megan's not sure.
Well, he doesn't necessarily get credit in his current role for Foodie,
Okay.
but
Foodie is my answer.
he's a part of it a little bit
Sure.
because of how long he's been with the organization.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, he's going to break the curse. Starting with a Foodie in the mix, but I'm feeling good about this last draft year generally speaking, and I think that they could get something out of Jeremy Hanzel.
The question was non-first rounder.
Non-first rounder, yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So we've got a Foodie, we've got Hanzel. Are those the 2 front runners right now? Could someone like a Steinberg sneak into that pack too, or do we think there's a pretty clear separation there?
Yeah, I mean, if Matt Steinberg keeps sabotaging all of his competition,
Everybody get hurt.
he's the one who actually hurt Jason Polin, so that's all it is. He's just got to keep taking out the competition. He'll make it. No, seriously though, Steinberg, yeah, he's in that mix.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to check. We Wade Klippenstein believers on this show.
But also believers in all of the guys that are in the development part of it, because
of course.
Wade's job is done when it comes to those kids.
That's true. He drafted them, and then it's not his thing anymore.
Honestly, when he drafts them, that's it. And that's his job is to, clip. He drafts them and then hands them over to the dev guys, and now it's on to the dev guys.
Yep.
And the kid himself.
Of course.
It's on to Jeremy Hanzel, and it's on to Callum Ritchie. Mikhail Gulyayev. I know those guys are first rounders, but they're late first rounders, so give me a break.
Well, and I'm excited then if we are expanding it beyond guys
go
who
for
could
it.
be in the first round. We don't know what Sean Behrens is yet, and I don't want to get carried away, but that's just another thing to look forward to down the defensive pipeline.
How silly is it we're talking about non-first rounders, and Sean Behrens wasn't even the first answer that any of us had.
No, but and you're right, and it's fun to see. That's why those rookie showcases are fun, and you're bang on. Like it's, Klippenstein and the crew, they draft, and then they go look for the next one, right? Mm-hmm. And then Bednar's like, oh, and Pratt and Bennett, yeah, who cares? He's not ready. We don't care about him. It's funny. It is such levels everywhere, you know. And the pro guys are like, yeah, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, all they care about is the NHL rosters, and you know what I mean, because they're used to watching NHL rosters in American League. So on a tournament like this, any pro scouts looking at this, it's just to see the up and comers, like, you know what I mean, that they know about. Other than that, they don't know who the guys are. Neither do they care who they are, and that's not their job, you know. And maybe time to. I told Megan today we were talking about this, but maybe give a little love to Mike Battaglia. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about, and Neil Shea and those guys, like the college free agents. I do believe, you know, I think we all believe Poland, you know, signings like that. Sandelin even to an American League deal, and
Sam Malinsky.
That's a great fall. I mean, spring. You know, that they had, right? You know what I mean? It's awesome, and I think Mike does a good job, and again, that's what he looks for. So he kind of blend everybody in this weekend. It's kind of nice. The pro guys, the college free agent guys, and you know, amateur guys, and it's awesome. It's awesome to watch and come to fruition.
And it's a year after Ben Myers and Wyatt Amont.
Yep.
You know, Ben, if you're talking about Ben Myers competing with Jason Poland and Andre Pavel for your bottom of the roster, like whoever is doing the work in your organization of scouting out college free agents to
doing some heavy lifting,
to fill specific needs is doing a really good job.
Or they're just sending all of Minnesota State's players to development camp. I'm kidding.
Yeah, Mike Battaglia just living in Minnesota at this point. Poor guy.
It really is. It's a fascinating side of the game. I think that's why all of us like it so much, and that development side, which we will talk about a little bit more. But first, we are brought to you by Shady Rays. You can go get your sunglasses on today at shadyrays.com. Use code DNVR when you purchase. You get 2 pairs or more at checkout. You get 50% off your entire purchase with that DNVR code. They're great sunglasses all the way around. We all love them. We all use them. They've been rated over 250,000 people have rated them over 5 stars. There we go.
That's a lot of 5 stars.
That's a lot of stars. That's over 1 million stars right there. So go jump on it. The best part is their return policy, though. When you get the sunglasses, if you break them, you lose them, or you don't like them, they will replace them completely for free in the first month. So why not give them a try? You might as well. They could be free if you don't like them. So go over there, shadyrays.com. If you're local in Colorado, they have a brick and mortar in Park Meadows Mall as well. Check them out today. And then wear your Shady Rays to the next Volo event. You can get over with Volo and sign up today. There are a bunch of fall leagues going on. You can get the Volo Pass for $20 a month, or you can test it out for just $10 a month for the first 3 months. And it's unlimited drop-ins, pick up, all of that stuff, tournaments as well. You can just show up, you can get into games, have a great time with one of the biggest social sports companies in the U.S. They have tons of leagues all over the state of Colorado. Lodo, Rhino, Uptown, City Park, Highlands, Sloan's Lake, Cherry Creek, DU, Inglewood, Arvada, Aurora, Northfield, and more. And their fall leagues are open now. So sign up before those fall leagues get closed, or get your Volo Pass today. You can use code DNVR10 when you go to volosports.com/Denver, and you'll get $10 off your purchase. That's essentially the first month free with the Beta Pass. So get it at volosports.com/Denver today. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We're talking development here. We talked to not just Wade, but a lot of the development staff for the Colorado Avalanche at this event. What is your guys' feeling from a lot of these guys? Are they hard pressed? Do they want to break this streak of perceived or not? I get it. Logan O'Connor's have been successful. Sometimes saying they've never been successful with these later round draft picks isn't the most accurate thing in the world. But from an organizational standpoint, is that something they really want to break through on?
Of course.
Yeah.
You think this is the track record they want to have?
Well, I was less about that.
You're going on a decade plus of being the worst NHL franchise at getting non-first round picks to the NHL. You know, and granted, there have been a lot of changes in the organization in that time for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, because there were a lot of, Rick Precy and Alan Heppel have come and gone, and now it's Wade Klippenstein's
ship. Yep.
Yeah, it's his drafting record that we judge now, and Yeah, of course they want to. They want to break out of this, and of course they want to get it right, because right now it's not right, and it's as arguably as important as it's ever been that they start to get it right, because Nathan MacKinnon
Ain't getting any younger.
Nathan MacKinnon, is approaching that 30-year-old range, and he's really highly paid. Cale Makar and Mikko Rantanen are going to get raises and be among the highest paid players in the league over the next handful of years as well. So it's more important than ever that they find cost-efficient guys who are on cheap contracts. ELC's second contracts, you need to be able to find guys for $1 million that can help you win games.
This is something that Tampa Bay has done well, and why they've been in their window for as long as they have been, is not only finding value in contracts from pro players, but being able to pull guys from the American League as well. That can be depth options for them. And I think that's the balance that Colorado is trying to better strike. But something this weekend has taught me a lot about the development staff is a greater understanding of what it is that they do and the ways that they grow and evolve within their departments to address these types of concerns. I don't know that, my impression isn't that they want to break through because they're personally unsatisfied with their track record. I think they want to demonstrate that all of the hard work that they've been putting into development to grow this area for the Colorado Avalanche is going to amount to something. I think they want to start seeing the fruits of their labor. It's what makes it such a difficult area to evaluate, because that's going to be seen in a little bit of time, and because there have been these new changes implemented. They're growing their scouting staff, and they're focusing more on goaltending. And in talking to Craig Billington and learning more about his role within the organization, it's not something I had heard of before, what they are doing to just grow, how they are looking at development on the whole. And I think that's something that people aren't privy to knowing, that has made this weekend so valuable, is to see the ways in which they're working very hard to improve their approach to amateur scouting and development.
And for Wade, there's a feel-out period too. He takes over. Sure. It's new. That's his group. How long has it been now? Is it 2 years? Is it
4 years ago?
Since
Well, it's a few years anyway. But what I'm saying is, at the start, you're learning to be the guy, to be the main guy. You need to have a better understanding of your staff. He's made some changes, right? He's made some tweaks here and there. Now it's a matter of same thing. They have to adapt to him as well. And what's he looking for, right? Because you're the one it's like C-Mac and those guys, right? At the end of the day, you have pro scouts, and then you make trades, and but people look at you because you're the one that made the final decision, right? But there's people underneath you, so it's the same thing at the amateur level, and they're I think they're better suited for each other now. They're more. This is more like his group now. Now you're going to start seeing, the real fruit of what they're, cultivating here, and to see what's going to happen. But he seems like a confident guy. He seems like a well-spoken man. He's confident in his decision making, and you can tell that the staff is rallying behind him, and he's going to be a big leader there, like he's been the last few years. But I think now it's more let's go. You know what I mean? Where, like AJ said, break the barrier, or go from there.
Punch through at a certain point. Yeah. All right. You look at this development path, Eric. You talk a lot about how a lot of the time your job is, hey, I just have to make a decision on this kid. Do I think he can make it or not?
Yep.
When you talk about the development side of things, is there a lot more open-endedness to that? Because your organization is going to get the kids you draft, and you have to work with them. How does that investment work for an organization? Is this we're going to give these kids everything they need, or do you make decisions quickly on who you think is going to make it and who's not?
No, you're right. I mean, it's an investment, and that's why they're starting to spend more money on development. Every team is, whether it's the support that they get and all the tools that the kids are allowed to. And you got to remember, a lot of times, like, it's a touchy situation because they go back to college or they go back to juniors, and you got to remember they're part of a team there. You can't just go and invade, like they're, I don't want to say privacy, but somewhere somehow that kid's playing for that team, and you can't just all of a sudden take over and you tell that kid don't listen to Coach Rudo or Coach Megan. I mean, it's like it's not how it works. But they're starting to spend some bigger investments in kids, and whether it's nutrition or what they do at development camp, showing those kids all the methods of even how to cook for a meal for yourself, right? Instead of just going to fast food joint, and learning all that kind of stuff. So they do emphasize on that. But you got to remember, most people are not Nathan McKinnon, right? Right. That's an easy one, or Cale Makar. But most people take time. And when I say that, it's like, no, me, it's more like once they get to a certain point, like they're 22, 23, you know what I mean? So where are they at? Yeah, there's a fine line between you waited too long or, you should have got rid of them before because it was too. So there is a fine line. It's hard to judge from the outside if you haven't spent years with a kid. But at some point, I can tell you that after a few years with a kid, you can tell that it's not going to work. You know what I mean? And then that's when as an organization, you're like, we have to make a decision, and we're going to make, for the benefit of him or whatever, like a change. And then, we go get a different asset. And then that's where it happens. But, yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between pulling the trigger too quick. It's hard to tell an 18-year-old, like,
of course,
this guy can't play. But after a while, you do see a pattern, you see some trends, and then you're like, yeah, I don't think he's going to get it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, some guys are masters of that. Some guys are not so much because they fall in love with the player, which is, hey, listen, there's human beings involved, right? So, and then you're like, he's going to come out of it. And then sometimes the kid just doesn't because he's already tapped out, and this is where he's at, and he's not getting better. But you think as an organization from the outside, you haven't been with them for a few years, and then you're like, oh no, we can fix that. I see what they see. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of this game, and it's fun, and you give each other chances, and and that's the beauty of seeing prospects mature to all of a sudden becoming NHL players. It's fun.
Awesome. Anything you two want to add for the development path conversation? Trying to keep it a little bit short today so we can go enjoy our last night in Vegas. I mean, we got to enjoy it a little bit. Come on.
I've got nothing else.
Good?
I don't.
Good. All right. That nothing is brought to you all by Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. We're going to go drink some of that out tonight. Have a good time. Give it up for Breck Brew. Obviously, 8 different kinds at our bar out in Colorado, but you can find it right here in Las Vegas or anywhere else in the States. Use the Breck Beer Locator online at breckbrew.com. And then when you got a beer in your hand, you can go bet on the football game behind us if you want. Use DraftKings.com. When you sign up with DraftKings, you bet $5 after using the DNVR code at sign up, and you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. So jump on it with DraftKings. They also give you 2 new offers every game day this September, so you have a bunch of stuff to bet on. Football, certainly for someone like me, it's a whole lot more fun when you're in on the action, when you have some skin on the line. Be sure to use that DNVR code when you sign up to get those $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL. Of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.t1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, LA. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. All right, we made it. We made it through. We made it through our Vegas trip. The next time you see our faces, we will be at home in Colorado. We had a blast. I hope y'all enjoyed all of the content we've made out here. There might be a couple more things trickling out on YouTube, Twitter, and the website. Keep an eye for today's game day stuff and things like that. But it's been a blast. We've enjoyed. We're going to get out of here for the final time from Vegas. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next one.